Hey, what's up, fam? It's your boy Darren with Darmac Builders coming to you on a Saturday. I'm out here working, and I'm at one of my spots here, man. I'm enjoying it. This is one of my spots I come to hang out, do what I have to do, and yeah. And I want to, like talk a little bit about, the phrase "the first." Um, we're still talking about the first African American has done this or has done that, and one of the things I have is like, here we are in 2022, and we're still talking about the first. And so the question becomes, how far have we have come as a people, as a race of people, as a generation, and so forth. It's great that somebody has to be first, but we're talking about over 400 years of still talking about the first. And so a lot of things that has happened to African Americans over the centuries, centuries, 100 years, just in case you guys didn't know, um, has been passed down from generation to generation. And usually a generation is 30 years. So if you talk about 30 years, you can figure out 30 years, a generation, what has been passed down from, you know, grandma, granddad, all that kind of stuff. All right. And if you don't believe in that, just look at your own history. Look at what's been passed down to you from your grandfather, your grandmother, your great grand. That's generational. And so, um, as we continue to thrive and work our way through some boundaries that has been put up to prevent us from growing, we also have to take the initiative and um, take control of our own destiny. And what do I mean by that? I'm coming from a construction standpoint. We talk about Black Wall Street back in 1921, over 100 years ago, century. And we twist words a little bit where we say that there was a riot. No, a riot is when two people are going, it was a massacre. And we got to start using words that are appropriate for the events that has happened. And if we don't do that, we're doing ourselves a disservice, and we're pretty much sugarcoating something that was a horrible and horrific thing. So you had something that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where you had a community that was thriving of African Americans that were independent, they had their own, economy, whether it was grocery stores, restaurants, hotels, you name it. It was there. And I don't care what has happened. I don't care what occurred. There is no excuse for what has happened. Okay, if there's a justice system, a law system, you feel like somebody's done something, um, then you arrest them and you do what you have to do. But you do not do what took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That is not the end result. That is not something. But fast forward to where we are right now, what you end up having is a city that most people have forgotten, because generation those people are pretty much dead and gone. Some of them got murdered there, women and children, and if you go there now, if you happen to be of a certain age, you don't know the history of it unless you read it. So now you go there, and it may be a block of what was once a thriving community, where the dollar was changing maybe 8, 9 times before it left the community. And so now you don't have that, right? You don't have that. And so what I say to everybody out there, African Americans out there, in general, I mean, you got to take pride of who you are, take pride of what you have. I mean, we get to the point where we're living in our communities and we selling our properties. Why are you selling your properties? Why? I mean, become your own developer. I mean, fix up your own property. Don't sell it and then take the money, because what you gonna do with it? What you gonna buy with it? I'd rather for you to say, okay, I got a piece of property here, there's a value, then let me build that high rise. Let me build that whatever. Don't take the money and run. And see, sometimes we got to look in the mirror and say, okay, what is our contribution for these things happening into our communities, that we're just so willing to sell our property for the little monies that we're getting, as opposed to you saying that, okay, I'm learning a trade, I want to know what happened, and I'm going to become a developer. Know what a developer is. You don't have to be a contractor. Okay? What you say what you want. I mean, our former president was not a contractor. He was a developer, and that's Donald Trump. He was not a contractor. He was a developer. And so If you have the land, you have the property, why are you selling it? Doesn't make sense to me. And then we want to point the finger like people coming in and taking over our community. So it's a different type of massacre, and we are participants in it. See, in 1921, we was our own community because we were not included. So therefore, we had to create our own cities and our own communities and so forth. And then the massacre happened. Now there's a different type. We're participating because we have our communities, and what we're doing is we're selling, as opposed to developing, as opposed to passing down that generation wealth to, your grandkids and to their grandkids. You got the money. What you gonna do? You're gonna be a consumer. So we're fighting these battles, but we're fighting and we're part of it. Okay, it's self-inflicted in most cases. And so my thing is that we have to get smarter. We have to plan. We have to strategize. We have to do a lot of things that is going to allow us to keep our wealth and continue to pass it down from generation to generation. Because if we don't do that, then there is no sign of relief. We can't continue to say, okay, I want this, I want the government to help me with this, I want the government to help with this, but we're not doing anything with the things that we already currently own. Then what's the point, right? I mean, what's the point? So I just want to, till we get to the point where we stop glorifying, okay, the first, we need to start taking action as far as how do we continue to develop, how do we continue to pass on generational wealth to the people that's going to come after us. Okay, there's no reason why our community should be decimated. If they're going to get developed, then they should be developed by the people who live there. It should be the African Americans who's living there and say, hey, you know what, we want to build us. We don't have no problem building the high rise. We don't have no problem building apartments. We don't have no problem building the storefront commercial A buildings. We don't have no problem in doing that. But the problem is that we feel like somebody makes us an offer and it looks good and tantalizing, and then you jump on it, and then you have this money in your hand and you can't go buy anything because everything else is going to be high and probably out of your market. Then you go buy things that are depreciable assets. And I'm just being real with you guys because I want you guys to understand where I'm standing and where I see. Okay? We have to get smarter in our actions. We have to. That's a priority. Okay? That's a priority. We got to look in the mirror and say how I'm contributing to these things that's happening for the most part. So like I said, I'm here on a Saturday. I'm working, doing what I have to do in order to make myself better, and to leave something behind. Because because I know that I'm not going to live forever. I know that there's going to be people behind me, and I want to be able to leave something for them, to leave to something to them, where they can leave something for them. You understand what I'm saying? So, and that's the kind of things that we need to work with, and we need to understand, as we navigate ourselves through this whole maze. So yes, Black Wall Street was a viable community. And there was other communities throughout this country that had the same kind of pride, the commitment, the economics, the whole 9 yards. And so how do you create another Black Wall Street? Well, thank God for evolution, because right now we have technology, and technology has allowed us to make the world smaller. And what I mean by that is that you have a Black Wall Street through technology, through social media. Okay, before you didn't know who owned what. You didn't know who owned the construction firm, who owned the hair salon, who owned electric company or plumbing company or whatever. Now technology has allowed you to continue that on a global scale. It's bigger, man. I'm telling you, it's bigger. But we have to use it as such. Okay, if you want Black Wall Street, or you want to deal with that and growth, it's right here on technology. Right? For everybody to see. It may not be bricks and mortar, it may not be a community, so to speak, but you're in a position where you have the economic power to do exactly what our ancestors did in 1921. They built communities. Okay, they thrived. They worked with each other. They did the things that made their family proud, their ancestors proud. They did all those things, and we got to get back to that point. Use what is available to us. Technology is right here, alive and well, and we need to understand that, and we need to start using it. Because if we don't use it, then we're gonna have an issue with things in years to come. Okay, so I don't want to rant too much or uh, talk too long because I want your attention, because I know your attention span is real slim. But this is where we are with this. Okay, let's get smarter. Let's hold on to our properties. Let's develop our properties. Let's build. You got contractors out there. You never have to use me. Hey, if you got a piece of land and you want to build it, build it. Keep it. Make it Airbnb. Make it a duplex. Rent it out. Do whatever you got to do, man. But be that person where when you're gone, you passing it down. It's not complicated. The blueprint's already out there. Okay. Peace. Love you. Continue to watch. This is DB.